The two brothers bought a large piece of land on the outskirts of the city, and they were planning to build their own house there. But they didn't expect that this storage shed would still be on the land. They opened it, and inside they found a hidden secret that revealed the identity of the previous owner. The two brothers, Henry and Tom, were on their way to the piece of land they had bought. The trip was exciting, and of course, the brothers were eager to see what their investment had brought them. They got the place for almost nothing in an online auction, so maybe it was a bad deal, but their excitement was high. They arrived at the gate and took their first steps onto their new property. The land was rough, and Tom could see that it needed a lot of work, but they saw something they didn't expect. There was a building still standing in the middle, a structure that wasn't on the map they received after the purchase. It was an old, rusty warehouse that had seen better days, but it caught their interest. Henry walked around the dilapidated building, while Tom pulled on the two large doors at the front. "Do you see another way in?" "Because the main doors seem locked," Tom asked nervously as Henry rounded the corner to meet his brother again. The doors were locked with a heavy chain padlock holding them together, but Henry knew exactly how to solve this problem. He looked at the ground beneath his feet and soon spotted the right tool to solve them. He picked up a steel pipe that was lying among the debris and pushed it between the chains of the lock. After several attempts, they heard the chain snap. The air inside was damp, and the darkness was so intense that nothing could be seen clearly. So Henry and Tom used their flashlights to look around. In the right corner of the dilapidated building, there were several large boxes, some with padlocks like the one on the barn but smaller. The brothers were fascinated. They felt as if they were taking part in a television show about warehouse hunting. The boxes were old, but the details on them were so precise that they seemed too important to be left to rot in storage, and their contents proved it. They were filled with documents, a complex-looking blueprint, and photos of a man and his family. These must have been the original owners. The blueprint was filled with perfectly straight lines and detailed, precise drawings that must have taken months to create, but there was one detail that flowed freely. It was the maker's signature, the initials R.S., surrounded by an inverted triangle. Something about this felt familiar to Henry. Soon, the storage room and these plans became more important than the land they had bought. The two brothers got into their car and headed to the first place that came to mind. The local library was their first stop on the road to discovery. The brothers split up the tasks and searched for hours, but unfortunately to no avail. There was no trace of the mysterious R.S. They had to try something else. Tom told Henry that they needed outside help. Maybe someone at this station knew more about R.S. and the land they bought, so they placed an ad in the regional newspaper asking for help with their search. Then the waiting began, and it was long. It lasted for almost 2 months, and all they heard was complete silence. But one early morning, the phone rang in Tom's house. The man told Tom that he was a historian and that he had seen their ad. "I'm convinced that I can help you," he said. The historian not only had a name, but also many files that would be of great interest to the two brothers. The old man told the two brothers that the man they were looking for was named Robert Stevenson, the original owner of the land. "Stevenson! That's also our family name," Henry said in surprise. Later, they would discover that this was not just a coincidence. The historian told them that Robert Stevenson was the richest man in the city, maybe even in the whole region. He lived in the 19th century, but except for his year of birth and his status, not much was known about him. The historian looked at the things the brothers brought with them and noticed that there was an engineering map among them. "Ah, an engineering map? I have one of those too," he said. The old man pulled out a large sheet, which was indeed an engineering map of their land, with the layout of the house in the center. It bore the same initials, RGS. But there was something different. And when he held the stacked papers up to the light, the brothers saw that the historian's map was missing a room that was exactly where their barn stood. After the death of Robert Stevenson, it seemed that all traces of his life had disappeared. The historian's guess was that the secret was in the lower right corner of the large oil painting hanging on the wall, which beautifully depicted Robert Stevenson and his family. The room that appeared before them was not an old, mouldy cellar, but rather a well-organized living room. It was dusty, but it looked warm. The antique furniture was carefully arranged, and the oil painting hanging on the wall attracted attention with its beauty. Tom dashed to the ground and heard a strange sound. He moved a step to his right and stomped again, and the sound changed. "Henry, come here. I think there's a hollow space under the ground here." It took the two men about 15 minutes to remove all the dirt covering it, but when they finished, they looked at a wooden hatch in the ground that revealed what the cellar was hiding. It was a dark pit with a ladder fixed to one side. The first 3 steps were visible, but after that, there was only darkness. They found an old oil lamp hanging on the wall next to it. They didn't expect it to work anymore, but they decided to try it anyway. The old oil, 150 years old, was still flammable, and the oil lamp lit up the entire room. The initials were appearing again, and now they were just a few inches away from the strange painting. They were fascinated by what they had just discovered, but the discovery did not stop there. Henry noticed that one corner of the cloth was a little loose, so he examined the gap and even put his finger in the hole for a moment. "Tom, there's something behind this," he said with a smile. Henry pulled the object out and handed it to his brother. It was an old key, but that wasn't the only thing that came out. A letter fell to the ground at the same time. Henry looked at the envelope and saw the upside-down triangle again in the wax seal. He opened the letter and read, "If you have found this secret room and my letter, you are a direct descendant of my lineage. Therefore, you are entitled to all the wealth of my family. The key that comes with this letter will help you unlock all my treasures. This is my way of ensuring the future of my family and all who follow it." Henry and Tom looked at the key in amazement. The key fit perfectly, and when they opened it, tons of gold and silver coins appeared. They would use the architectural maps from Robert Stevenson and rebuild the old family house in honor of his legacy, making it a wonderful place for them to live. The construction took 2 years, but in the end it was perfect. From the materials used to the layout, every inch was documented by R.S., and Henry and Tom made sure to honor that. They even rebuilt the secret room. The historian found the family tree, and it turned out they really were related. Now, his home from the past was their home for the future.